Well, baseball season has now arrived with the postseason.
Oh.
And just like in the preseason, I was looking in my phone book and in my email addresses, and I was looking for the one guy I can go to who's going to film everybody in on what's going on in Southern California with baseball. It had to be Les Lukach, right? Couldn't be anybody else. He's been in Sacramento, Bakersfield, Fresno, down south in Orange County, and parts in between. Man, Les, I mean, dude, how's your car?
It's funny you say that. I just got it serviced, but but hey, I'll tell you what, it's been worth it, man. Making up for that last year or so that we experienced, and it was something else. But it's just been fun to be out on the road and to see a lot of these teams and a lot of these teams that we're going to talk about, but not only here locally. I mean, like you said, San Diego to basically Sacramento, and all parts in between. It's been a fun baseball season for me personally. So, I'm excited to be able to be here with you and talk about these guys as well as we head into the playoffs.
Okay, before we get started, we want to just give a quick plug. You've got the sweatshirt on, you got the hat on, prepbaseballreport.com. It is lights out material. What do you got on there, pal?
Yeah, prepbaseballreport.com, man. I mean, it's all the news and info you need for high school baseball in the state of California.
Perfect. And there's Twitter, different levels you want. Yeah. You can go subscription, non-subscription, good stuff on there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to work. I want to ask you this one question before we get started. And this was asked a longtime friend of mine, Gabe Lax, who's now working for USA Today. He worked with us at the Tribune many, many years ago. And he made a great point when it was with the baseball playoffs, which were, for many of these teams. Now, this year's a totally different ball game because we don't have, with the pandemic, we weren't really able to play a lot of tournaments and things of that sort. But in most years, a lot of these teams play in these tournaments that are double elimination, best 3 out of 5. You get ball games in. Now you're in the playoffs and it's a one and done. That to me, that's like the biggest caveat to this whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, as we see on Twitter and, particularly for me in my position, my colleagues across other states across the country who are, in these best 3 of 5 state championship series. And, it's just, the environment is incredible. And, they're at these, nice facilities, be it a college stadium or a pro facility. And, the excitement comes from that, best of 3 series, right? Or the best of 5 series, whatever that you mentioned there. And, the best of 3 series, I think, I think that's going to be an eventuality. I mean, you feel like it has to be, right? Because it just has to happen in this state. And I think we saw a good first step. And I'm glad you brought this up again, because I've talked to a lot of coaches, and a lot of us, within my company have talked to a lot of coaches inside the state about the regional championships. And I think that's a good first step. And I think what's going to happen there is they're going to, eventually get to the point where, this is going to become a state championship in the truest sense of the word. And I think that's a phenomenal first step. My hope is that, we come to our real senses though, and make that championship series a reality.
Because basically all you need is really maybe 1 or 2 pitchers and you're good to go here, especially in the lower divisions.
Yeah, you got to have 2, I think, just because, you're going to play 2 games in a week. So, you're not going to play the 3, which gives, I think, those teams that play 3-week or 3-game series in a week a little bit of an advantage here because they're going to be able to rest their guys and spread them out a little bit more. But, you play the 2 games, you need almost like a starter and a half, if that makes sense, right? And then just go to the bullpen after that and hope and pray for the best. But, if you want to make a deep run, you have at least 2 arms, potentially even, 3, 4. And in the cases of some schools we might talk about here, 5 or 6. It's just, I put a note in our rankings piece that went out today about, it's long been said that the Division I title is the hardest title to win in California baseball. And it is, but I think a lot of that has to do with luck as much as it does talent in many cases.
Perfect. Okay. Division I has Jay Serra, top seed, Harvard Westlake, the number 2 seed, Orange Lutheran, the number 3 seed, and Ayala, the number 4 seed. Let me ask you this, Les. Of those 4 teams, who is the most likely team to get an early round upset, to be upset early in the first round, the first 2 rounds?
Oh boy! Oh man! Well, let's see. You're putting me on the spot.
I see. I'm trying to do that to you, pal.
Right out the gate. So
yep.
Let's see. I mean, if you look at potential second round opponents for Olu, it would be Miracosta or Foothill, very good team. For Ayala, it would be Notre Dame or Chrysanthe Valley, 2 very good teams. Jay Sarah will play the winner of Capel Valley and Chaminade. Chaminade, I believe they played earlier in the season. Capel Valley, though, you have that kind of neighborhood rivalry, so that would make me interesting. For Harvard Westlake, it would be Dana Hills or Arcadia. I think early round, I'm thinking first or second round. I just don't see how any of those 4 teams could lose in the first 2 rounds. If I had to maybe pick, it would be probably Ayala, simply because they would have to go on the road potentially to Notre Dame. It's a long bus trip from Ayala to Notre Dame in traffic to get there for a 3:00 game. A, and B, the inconsistency of their pitching staff. Early from when I saw them, it was a little inconsistent. Obviously, they've shored that up a little bit. But if I had to pick one, I would probably say Ayala.
Would that concern you also with them that they lost to Bonita last week?
No, that's a big game. Like, as you know that, right? I mean, that's a big game for both of those schools. And honestly, a lot was made about, say, Thousand Oaks losing a game there to Newbury Park. A, Newbury Park's a good program. And B, do you really want to go into the playoffs at 24 or 25-0? Because, the potential letdown at the end of that would be monumental versus losing a game, right before, and then being able to kind of refocus as a team and then make a deep run.
Gotcha. I'm going to make one last thought here. Maybe you can tell me if I'm right or wrong here. I'm looking at Bishop Amat, and they're playing St. Bonaventure. And someone tweeted out the other day, I think it was yesterday, saying that St. Bonaventure is in Division I because of the pitcher they've had for the last couple of years who's gone. And they're only 7-13 this year. And then they would probably play the winner, they'll play the winner in the La Mirada West Ranch game. And according to your notes, I hit the tape the other day, it seems as if Jake Callahan is starting to pick up some mojo here for West Ranch. I thought Bishop Amat was one of the big winners in the draw when the pairings came out.
Yeah, that little pod right there of 4 teams, right? I mean, that sets up nicely for Amat for sure. But I'll say this: West Ranch, yes, they're at 12-2 there, but they only played a league schedule. Lost the championship there to Hart last week. And La Mirada, right? I mean, those young guys aren't young anymore. And that's going to be a theme here that we talk about a lot, I think, when we break down some of these teams. So I don't think it's necessarily a cakewalk for Amat in the second round. And you know what? I mean, you've seen this. You've been doing this a whole lot longer than I have around this prep scene, and you've seen it. I mean, anything can happen in these playoffs, right? I mean, just because that pitcher from St. Bonaventure is gone, it doesn't mean that 3 pitchers aren't going to pick up his slack, moving into this game, right? I mean, that's a potential worst case scenario if you're Amat. Best case scenario is you get 2 home games and you get West Ranch and you got to get them on a bus back down to La Puente and play your game there, and then you're on to the third round. I mean, that would, I think, would be the best case scenario for Amat.
How good is Jay Sarah?
I hesitate to say they're the best high school team that I've seen since I've been doing this here in this area. But if they are not, they are pretty darn close to it. If not, it's the best pitching staff I've seen. Gage Jump and Eric Silva are 2 possibly very high draft picks this spring or this summer, right? And beyond that, you have other arms that are very, very talented, many of them Division I commits. And then you look at the lineup. The lineup, I'll say something. They're very good, but the lineup was held in check a little bit during that series last week against Olu. But I mean, from a pitching standpoint, it's phenomenal. Gage Jump does things on the mound that you would not expect a guy his size to do.
Can Harvard-Westlake come out of this bracket here and play them in the finals?
I think they can. I really do think they can. Although if I'm Harvard-Westlake, I'm kind of eyeing King out of Riverside. Before you can move on to that semi, I think that would be looks like the quarterfinal, or potentially, the quarterfinal.
Yeah, it would be a quarterfinal.
That could be a really, really good game. You would anticipate maybe seeing the freshman Bryce Rayner throw at that point. But I'll tell you what, I think they can meet Jay Sarah. And if they do, that would be one of those where you just wished it was a 3-game series, right? Because, I mean, a lot of respect between those two coaches, really good friends. Obviously, the quality of their program is what it is. It speaks for itself. And then just kind of having been a part of that series last week, I mean, James, that place was nuts for 3 nights. I mean, it didn't matter. And you would get that same vibe from a Harvard-Westlake, Jay Sarah, or any of these teams, right, in a 3-game series. I mean, it would just be awesome.
Out here, we're a little bit excited, just a little bit less, because South Hills is traveling to Damien, and you got 2 hyper-competitive coaches going at each other. And the games do tend to get a little long when there's pitching maneuvers going on and everything. So I kind of warned Freddie he might be at the ballpark until 8:00. But all kidding aside, this is a pretty good game here, pal.
This is a really good game. And before we get into it, I mean, I'd love to hear the conversation between you and Freddie on and hear his pick. Because I got to hear his pick on this one. And I think I know what it is, but I just want to.
It starts with a D and ends with an N with an A-M-I-E in the middle. Does that kind of fill you in there?
Right.
Which would be my pick too, by the way.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, I'll tell you what. Damien is a really good team, and winners of 6 straight to win that league last 2 weeks, and they're hot. And obviously, Matty Clark is a really good player. Caden Muller's a really good player. But I'll tell you what, man. A lot has been said about some other players on their team, but the sophomore Jd Dunn, he's really, really good and has a chance to be, on the level of some of those other highly recruited guys that they have, that are seniors now. He runs well. He's consistent with the bat. He swings it well. He's selective. There's not much to not like with this guy. And I'm sure you're familiar with who he is, but he's got a chance to be really special for Damien moving forward.
For those of you who may not know, he is the son of Matt Dunn, who's the boys basketball coach over at St. John Bosco. And I've always said coaches' sons are probably one of the most prized commodities on a team here. Les, I'm giving you $20.
Oh.
Okay, give me a long shot that can be a bracket buster in this division.
Ukaipa.
Talk to me.
Okay, so I mean they're deep, they're talented, they can hit 1 through 9. If they can get consistent pitching at a high level. And again, in the one and done format, I mean, they could cause some noise. I would love to see a Jay Sarah Ukaipa matchup in the quarterfinal, because I think those are 2 of the better teams in that, kind of group of teams there, that the bracket there, that group of 8, if you will. I think that'd be a really fun quarterfinal to watch, just because, we know what Jay Sarah is in terms of their pitching staff. And we learned a lot about who they are, as just kind of as a team collectively. But, following Ukaipa and having seen them a couple of times this season, I think they're too talented and they're deep. And they're youthful. It's youthful talent though. So, I mean, take that for what it is, but sometimes you don't know any better. Right. And so these guys are young, they're talented, and that would just be a really fun matchup. And if you got to get, again, I'm unfamiliar with the details moving into the quarterfinals, but with the coin flip situation, I don't know if you go on the road in the second round, if you automatically get a home game or how that works. But I'll tell you what, if Jay Sarah's got to get on a bus and go out to Ukaipa, that's going to make for that story even more interesting.
Okay. See, that's why we bring Les on for takes like that. I did not know you kind of.
Who's yours? So who's yours? Who's your bracket?
Oh, wow. That's, for me, it would definitely be Damien. I thought they were underseeded, definitely underseeded. And I think they've got all the talent there, Les. I mean, Robert Mansour at third, it'll be solid player. They got solid pitching. I just think, and they've got Andy Nieto. To me, that's just, to me, is everything. So, they've got to get past, South Hills. It'll be an emotional game. It'll be a very highly competitive game. But if they get past them, the one thing about Andy, he knows how to get the most out of his teams. And then, you're talking about now they're going to have to play Ukaipa in that second round game next week, and who knows? But then, it's just one of those situations. It's what we like. But I mean, it's just, it's opinions, and everybody has them, folks.
Right.
Division 2.
Hey,
and so
quick,
division. Yes, sir. Go, please. Yes, sir.
I love that you touched on Andy there, because the quality of coaching in this Division 1 playoffs is insane, right? When you look at these programs and you look at who their head coaches are and like what these guys have done, that's incredible, right? So I'm glad you made that point about Andy, but I think that extends throughout the entire bracket. I mean, all of these schools, right? But when you look very closely at the Division 1 playoff and then at the Division 2 playoff bracket, I mean, some of the accomplishments of these coaches, it's pretty darn impressive.
I don't think there's a better guy than Brett Kay over at J. Sarah. He's just an absolute stud. I mean, just a stud. I mean, and the nicest guy in the world. Absolutely loves baseball. I mean, he opened up. I remember a couple of years ago, he opened up his facility for a team to practice because there was a situation at their school with the fires and everything, and he opened it up and said, "Just come on and practice or whatever." That's just, it just shows you what type of guy he is, and he's just. I mean, what he's done with that program is amazing. Division 2. So we'll start with, the top 4 seeds are Thousand Oaks, Sierra Canyon. Number 2. Number 3 is Villa Park. Number 4 is Ocean View. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Thousand Oaks, Sierra Canyon, 2 teams that Les talked about at the beginning of the year. Watch them closely, and guess what? They're 1-2 in the seeds here. Who wins it, pal?
Oh man! Again,
I have to ask these questions here.
You do, man. Again, but let's just take a look at the top 4, right? And we can break those guys down a little bit. I mean, obviously, Thousand Oaks is everything that we thought they were going to be. I don't know that we anticipated a 23-game win streak, but they're a very good team. Obviously, the big 3 are doing what they do, right, and what we expected them to do. But if you look at some of their teammates, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Senior outfielder Justin Abercrombie's hitting .391. Junior Easton Ruley is hitting .415. Junior Dylan Jackson's hitting .346. I mean, all these guys, combined, they have, close to 60 runs scored. I mean, these guys are getting on base. They're scoring runs. They're doing what they're supposed to do so that those other guys can do what they're supposed to do. And when you get that, it's a pretty lethal and dangerous combination, right? I mean, so it comes down to the arms, right? Miles Weiss, the senior, has had a really good season for Thousand Oaks, but right when you're 23-0, everyone appears to be having a good season, right? So, they're going to be tough, obviously. Sierra Canyon, I think, presents I think Sierra Canyon and Ocean View have a real chance to come out of this thing because of the pitching. They both pitch at a very high level. We talked about, Cassius Thomas, Jaden Newt in that preview of Sierra Canyon. Both those guys are the real deal. And I just think that, Ocean View, what's going on over there is something that's pretty special, right? I mean, it's kind of like a run like Kennedy from La Palma made a few years back. And it's just, it's a really, really good story with really good pitching.
Les, I'm looking here at the top 8 teams in that top half of the bracket here, from Thousand Oaks to San Dimas. San Dimas is without question in my mind the best team in our neck of the woods here in the San Gabriel Valley. Again, you called it. You said they were one of the. I think between them and Damien, they're the best 2 teams out here. Does San Dimas have a chance against Thousand Oaks in your mind?
That would be a heck of a quarterfinal, right? And here's why I would say yes. because when you look at San Dimas, 4 of their top 5 hitters are underclassmen, and 3 of those guys are freshmen. And then the 5th guy is a junior, right? So this offense is going to be together for a while, and it's going to be really good. But the real reason why I think that is because I don't think Thousand Oaks has the kind of premier arm that scares you. And so it could be a 15-14 game, but San Dimas has a shot, is what I'm getting at, right? And so they're so offensive, and I think that Thousand Oaks is so offensive that it could, be one of those types of games, because I'm not certain, based on just, the 1 or 2 times I've seen each of these teams, that either of them has that dominant arm that, it kind of frightens you. San Dimas has had some quality arms here in recent years. I just think they're still developing that quality arm that kind of goes out and strikes fear in you.
And I don't want to overlook this, but for San Dimas to get to that game against Thousand Oaks, they're probably going to have to play Margarita, and Margarita is good. They're a very good team. Shup does a good job over there. Shup would be just on the phone with me telling me I'm crazy for not mentioning them, but that would be a very tricky second round game. But I just thought that that San Dimas from top to bottom was consistently one of our better teams in the area this year. They're just so good.
Hey, Shoop, when you're watching this, just remember that was James, not me.
That's right. That's right. He has my number. He has my number for sure. Okay, so I'm now giving you another $20 bill. Oh. I'm going to tell you. I'm okay. Give me a long shot in Division II here, Les.
Long shot in Division II. I'd be remiss if I didn't go with my buddy out at Long Beach Poly. They won the Moore League, which is perennially one of the better leagues in SoCal. Brett Lavoie has done just an incredible job with that program. And at 18-8, I mean, it's one of those leagues where you're just not going to go undefeated through that league. Some of those losses came pre-league, but that's a really good club, and they've got some players that can hit the ball a long way, and they have just enough arms, right? I mean, again, nobody in Division II outside of Sierra Canyon stands out to me that has a pitching staff that makes you say, whoa, maybe Ocean View. But outside of those 2 guys, it's really hard for me to look at these teams and say, man, that will scare you if you got to face those guys. And so I think Poly has an opportunity, to make a run here now. That's a second round game against Sierra Canyon. So, hey, you got to play a little David Goliath here. But, I think Poly has the type of bats that can do it.
Bonita's got Lakina in the first round. They have to go out to the desert. I was going to offer my place to the team to stay overnight, but we couldn't work the prices out, and we're just kidding, of course. But they got to go out to the desert. But they also have Luke Mistone, and that's a big plus for me. And I think as much as anybody else, they probably have a shooter's chance here, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, they're going to go out. I would imagine that Luke would pitch, that first game and get things started. The good thing is that you come back and potentially throw in the second round, as a out of the bullpen, given that it would be 4 days, if necessary, or you save them for the quarterfinal. That would be looks like they would face off with Ocean View, right, in the second round, or Simi Valley, who we didn't spend enough time talking about that area because that's pretty loaded up there as well. But yeah, I think Bonita definitely has a chance against La Quinta. It would be a fun game to watch, would be Bonita and Ocean View in that second round, just because, again, who does Bonita go to? And then potentially, you have that significant pitching over at Ocean View, right, as a number 4 seed. So I just think the second round, I mean, there's not a ton of first round matchups that, other than the fact that, hey, half these teams are going home, that really excite me too much to where, but the potential of some of these second round matchups, that being one of them, Bonita and Ocean View, those are pretty exciting propositions, I think.
We want to hit Division III quickly. We don't want to go through all 7 of them. And here's my question on top seeded Hart. Obviously, Hart's the top seed with Warren number 2, and I know Scott our man over at Warren, does a great job over there. Scott Pearson. We got a 3 seed here in Chino Hills, which I know you're familiar with. Number 4 seed is Santa Barbara. But here's my question on Hart. They played in a league-only schedule. Unless we're finding out in some of these other sports, in basketball, that these teams that play in these league-only schedules, it really puts them at a disadvantage in the playoffs. Is that a concern here with a team like with Hart and with Saugus?
I mean, I got to imagine it is, right? I mean, because you're just unfamiliar with the talent, the overall talent on all these other teams, right? I mean, I got to figure, hey, that's definitely a disadvantage, where they just, hey, now, they're going to spend, who are they going to go see here, right? They're playing Cerritos. Cerritos has a bye, so they can't go see them play. So now they're going to try to, find out as much as they can about Cerritos, here in the next week or so until they get the chance to play. So I think it does because they're not seeing just kind of the overall depth of the section, in their division, knowing what teams might be the teams to beat, so to speak, and then lo and behold, they're the team to beat as the number 1 seed, right? Having played only a league schedule like you mentioned. So it's going to be a challenge for Hart, I think, but that Foothill League is really good, as and I believe her name is Haley Sawyer, who covered it for you guys. She does a great job, and that league just as a whole, perennially is really good. And what Coach Ozella has done there at Hart High School is, traditionally, pretty significant. And now being back at the number 1 seed this year, after the madness of only playing a league schedule makes it, all the greater, I suppose. But it's like you said, that challenge is definitely going to exist where, hey, we have really no idea who's good in Division III baseball because we haven't seen anybody outside of our own league.
Les, can we get Chino Hills and Warren to play in the semifinal?
That would be pretty fun, huh? I think that would be a pretty fun game. I mean, just given what that's 2 and 3, Chino Hills is it's pretty senior laden team. I went and saw them against Damien at Chino Hills, and they have the posters up of all the graduating seniors. Gosh, and it seemed like half the roster. But that's a pretty talented team. Riker Billingsley, is still kind of dealing with the shoulder injury, so he's only DHing. Cole Howard is kind of doing a little bit of everything at the plate and on the mound for them. But hey, remember the name of sophomore Tyler Stoll, James?
Yes. I saw them against Damien. Yes, Coach.
Yeah, sophomore shortstop, man. That kid's got the goods. He went into a crosswind off the scoreboard for a home run against one of Damien's D1 pitchers, and let's just say that really caught some attention of people.
How good is Warren?
I've not seen them, but I've heard quite a bit about them. And I've heard that it's a really good team that has some seniors and that has very good quality pitching and can swing the bat. Outside of that, you always know that it's a well-coached team. So I have not seen them. So just going off what I've read here and seen in terms of video.
Perfect. I just kind of was throwing 50-50 out there. Didn't know. Don't take it personal. Just trying. No, I was just trying to throw you a slider and you didn't take it. So I'm just not. Yeah. We're not going to go there, so to speak. Les, this is the fun time of year. Man, I'm so thankful for your time. It's just. Here we are. We knew the playoffs were going to arrive, and we finally got it. We finally got them to arrive. But I will say this, though. I think this year proves how big tournaments like the Boris Classic, the National Classic Tournament, how big those tournaments are, and how much they really do fill in the puzzle for a lot of these teams, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting how teams play it next year with the new rule that every game counts as a game and tournaments no longer count as 2 games. 28 games is 28 games. You're not playing, 32 or 34 games, or, potentially more. So, then with the state regional championships, I think baseball's headed in the right direction. That was a crazy bump that we had there the last year or so, but I think these are going to be really good playoffs. And I definitely think that the game as a whole in California is headed in the right direction. And I mean, I'm sure I'll see you out at the ballpark here eventually for some of these.
Yeah, where you going Thursday, pal?
Oh, you see, now you just like to put me on the spot, man.
Absolutely, man. I'm going to Dana Hills Arcadia on Wednesday, and then I got a softball game on Thursday, which is going to be a blood battle. So you lose me there on Thursday, and then Friday I may go to Charter Oak versus Los Altos because that game's going to be a blood battle, between those two teams because they only have 70 years of rivalry in between them, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, hey. Give me the drama and I'm there, so to speak, but help me out here, pal. Where are you heading off to?
Yeah, I'm kind of still on the fence here as to where I'm headed. I can tell you that there are some potential games that I'm looking at are the Yucaipa Vista Murrieta game. I'm also looking at the Corona Redondo game. But the game I really kind of have circled is Huntington Beach and Santa Margarita. Huntington Beach is my sleeper pick for 2022 preseason #1 team. You heard it here first.
Okay. Santa Margarita got in as an at-large from the Trinity League.
Yeah.
I saw them play against South Hills, and I got to tell you, when they came off the bus, they looked like a football team. They were huge. Yeah. I mean, I just looked at it like, holy mackerel! But they could play now. They got a kid who's going to Texas who pitched against South Hills, was really good. He kept them off balance. They can swing the bat. That I can see why that game would be real intriguing to you, Les.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Huntington Beach has kind of come out of nowhere, if you will, right? I mean, they were good. Then they look. It's a great program, obviously. What Coach Maduro does there is, been pretty consistent the last decade and a half. But, it's just they have really good pitching. And that's a team that I think with the quality pitching that they have, 3 juniors who are all, 2 of them are already committed to D1 schools. The third one's a prospect and a Division I pitcher as a senior going to Notre Dame and Caden Aoki. I mean, that's a team that has enough offense that if they're going to make a run, and it'll be interesting to just kind of go see them get off to that run and then, potentially see them close out that run. So it's a really good team.
And they got that 14 pot. They would play the winner of the Redondo Union and Corona game that Les talked about earlier. And that would be an intriguing matchup as well. The best news, I think, for baseball fans, Les, is that looks like the championships are going to be held at Blair Field in Long Beach and at Cal State Fullerton. Which I think is just 2 tremendous venues. I know you're very familiar with Blair Field, although the power does, the ball doesn't travel at night as lively as it would during the day because of the weather conditions. But I think for baseball fans, those 2 venues are really solid.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic news. Actually, selfishly, I can be inside Goodwin Field at Cal State Fullerton from my house in about 8 minutes. So that's a nice bonus. And you'll never hear me complain about having to go watch a game at Blair Field. So that's a double nice bonus. I hadn't seen that announcement, but that's fantastic news. 2 great venues. And I believe I saw you the last time they were at Goodwin Field. What was that? 2018?
A couple of years ago. Yeah, when we saw Maranatha. Yeah, Maranatha beat LaSalle, and then we had Temple
Valley.
City.
It was
it was great. It was just so much fun that whole day, and it was from start to finish. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great crowds.
Les, you are the man. You have a breakfast burrito on me coming on to you soon. So
beautiful. I
know you're traveling and everything, but the ticket is still fresh, my friend. So don't be a stranger, sir. Website and Twitter handle, please.
Yeah. PrepBaseballReport.com, at PBR_California on Twitter, and then just at PBR California on Instagram, and videos, news, notes, everything you need to follow high school baseball in California. You'll find it there.
And for the underclassmen are coming back next year, what's the big first camp of the summer here?
Yeah, we got an event coming up there, our Rising Stars Showcase for which will be for 24s and 25s, and then our top prospect IDs, which will be for 22s and 23s and 24s. So basically, we're run a couple of these events, identify some players, and invite them to games that we will hold on four-year campuses here in the fall, around September, before they kind of finish up their fall season. And we've confirmed the venues, so now it's just a matter of summer getting here. But before we get to that, we've got a few weeks of awesome baseball ahead of us. And James, I'm sure I'll be seeing you at both Blair Field and Cal State Fullerton here in a couple of weeks.
We're crossing our fingers. That's all I could say. I think it's at least we got to the postseason and we are here. We are thankful that Les Lukach spent some time with us from prepbaseballreport.com. Stay right there, folks. We got softball coming up right around the corner. Les, thank you, sir.
Thanks, James.
Well, we couldn't not talk about softball. We have so much going on. We got baseball, softball, basketball, but for this video, we're just doing baseball and softball. We've already talked to Les Lukach from prepbaseballreport.com. I had to bring my buddy, Tony Ciniglio, and I think I've got that right, Tony. If I don't, I'm sorry. It's all me. Try announcing a Skarsgård 10 times, you won't get it as well. He does all of our ratings for the Daily News and the Daily Breeze. So we've got the 310, we've got the 818, the 323, the 626. We've got it all carried here with a little bit of the 909 as well from my end.
Yeah, feel like
the 661. We got it all. We got it all here. Tony, my friend, it's good to see you, pal.
Good to see you too, James. Glad you're doing
well. It's been too long. I love the hat.
Oh.
Love the hat. Yep. The fact that the bats got going last night was huge. So I'll take that, so to speak. So,
Yeah, I'll take a 14 pitch at bat from CT3. That's nice.
Isn't that epic? Wasn't that epic? Oh my God. So here we go, Tony. The best time of the year for any softball fan. I know, you always make the trek over to Irvine every year for the finals, and it looks like we might be going back there this year again. We'll see how everything plays out here. But I just, just as the big overview picture here, I think a lot of the teams from your neck of the woods here in the 310 and in the Daily News area, they did pretty well with the pairings came out.
Yeah, I think they did pretty well. A lot of Daily News schools are in the mix. A lot of them have top 4 seeds. I can see many of them making a playoff run. I mean, you have Notre Dame, they're number 1 in D4. You have Sierra Canyon, they're highly ranked, and Westlake's in a very tough division. But every one of their games is going to be intense and fantastic. And it'd just be interesting to see. Daily Breeze doesn't have the top heavy teams, but they have the potential. No top 4 seeds, but if you sleep on any of them, they're going to come after you. They can swing the bat. So
that sounds like our area too out here in the valley. I mean, we don't have, other than Whittier Christian, who's the top seed in Division 3. I think with so much parity, unlike what you see in football a lot of times, and maybe in basketball and in softball and baseball, the parity is real.
Yes, very much this year. Maybe that's part of the pandemic, but take the South Bay, the Pioneer League. They have 5 teams who are probably the 5 best teams in that area, more or less, give or take, with Carson and San Pedro. They all beat the Bay League teams handily, and 2 of those teams are sitting at home right now because they couldn't finish top 3. They couldn't get the automatic bid, and it's crazy to think about. They all beat each other. No one was unscathed. It was like bloodshed, but
it just sounds like the Del Rio League out here with us, with Lucerna and Cal High and Santa Fe, and they just beat up on each other. And at the end of the day, the ones with the less scabs make the playoffs. It's just amazing.
Amazing, yeah. And those teams are going to be better for it. So maybe they're not having to compete against those same teams that know them so well, that have all those scouting reports, that know how to pitch the star hitter, know when to lay off the rise balls, because of the familiarity. All of a sudden, you're getting a team with fresh looks, and you start mowing through the playoffs. Like a couple of your teams and a couple of our teams are going to make some runs. That's for sure.
No question. One thing I want to, and I mentioned this earlier with Les as well. My buddy Gabe Lax back in the day used to always say that baseball and softball were so tough in the playoffs because they go in these tournaments every year. Unlike this year, I mean, we don't want, we'll use this as kind of like, like an asterisk. But in most years, they're always in these double elimination tournaments, or you're the best out of where you're playing multiple games, and it's such a culture shock when you come into the Southern Section playoffs because it's a one and done.
One and done. All you need is one good pitcher, and you could turn the whole thing around. Like it's scary how much one player can control it, but it's also nice to have the whole team behind you too. Yeah, I guess the case in point's Chrysanthe Valley, right? You've seen them.
Sure.
They've been very up and down. They have massive potential. They beat Los Al and they beat Huntington Beach in the same week on the road. That's insane. Who does that? Like, no one from our areas. Like, and then you lose to Burbank, you lose to Royal. Like, you have to go have like these massively dramatic wins against Arcadia just to win the league. Like, nothing's been easy for Chrysanthe Valley, and I think they're ready for it now. I think they're going to come after in the playoffs. And
that's in Division One, which will start there. They're going to play Royal, which is the third place team from the Coastal Canyon League. Of course, Chrysanthe Valley with Didi Hernandez, who's going to try out for the Mexican team, national team for the Tokyo Olympics. And I've been told she's got a real shot here, Tony.
She told me, I just wrote a feature about her. She told me she didn't make the cut there, but she's the youngest one. And it was only like 18 people who did make the cut. But she's going to compete for Team Mexico in the juniors level. And she gets to go to Peru in December. It's a nice consolation prize. That's like my bucket list right there. So
this is an interesting matchup here, just because Royal comes from a pretty good league in the Coastal Canyon League. You got to to hit the top three, you got to be pretty good.
Exactly.
This is a good matchup.
Good in that league, and Simi Valley and Royal are like neck and neck most of the time, and they both have good wins. And Royal beat Chrysanthe Valley during the regular season. Like, they're obviously very capable, but I think we're going to see a very motivated Chrysanthe Valley right now. I think that they feel like they have something to prove. They have the senior leaders to go and put together a run. And they have the pitcher to makes all the difference in the world.
And they've also beaten Huntington Beach, Los Alamitos. They've beaten the top seeds earlier this year. That's got to give them some confidence, so to speak. Yet I feel like they're underseeded.
They might, but you kind of have to penalize them for those losses. Like, I think that was probably taken into account, the fact that they had to have like miracle wins against Arcadia. I think you were at one of them, right? So yeah, it
was an amazing game. They were down by 5 runs going to the last inning, and they scored 5 to win.
And then the last game they played, they were down 3-1 going to the last inning.
Yeah, and they had to go extra frames to win too.
Yeah, a couple clutch hits in a row, a daring maneuver on the base pass to score in a wild pitch. It was a really close play. Looked from the eyeball, she looked out, but the umpire was right there. He had the best view. So, I mean, that close to missing the league title. So, but
the other game in Division One, Tony, which I thought was interesting with a couple of your teams that are crossing over here, is Saugus is playing at South Torrance. South Torrance is your number 1 ranked team in the Daily Breeze. I'm looking at the fresh. I mean, it's so hot. It's still coming off of the page here of your daily news.
I just did that one.
The top 10 final rankings for the regular season. You've got Saugus at 8th. They finished second to Hart in the Foothill League. My question is this for you, Tony, and I'm finding this out in other sports, and I've tweeted it out a few times, that these teams that play in these league-only schedules, it hurts them in the playoffs. And I'm just wondering here with Saugus, could that be the case?
It could be. That was my gut reaction when I heard that school districts were only allowing within the school district. They're not getting exposed to the other tough teams. They're not seeing other teams. They're not gaining that valuable experience. But the one thing that Saugus has going for is that they had to play Valencia 3 times. Valencia is pretty good for that area. And they took Valencia to the limit twice. I think 2 8-7 losses. Like, they were right there. And Hart's always a good program. They always put together like a contender, even in a quote down year, they're generally pretty good. The rest of the league was kind of rebuilding. West Ranch had some moments, but so they were competing, and they got 3 games against each of those teams. But I'm very curious. Like, South Torrance has a Florida-bound girl, a couple other D1 girls. They have the senior leadership. They've been to a championship game before. Like, how's Saugus going to react to that after playing only Santa Clarita teams? That's a great matchup. Like, love to see it. So,
but that's an interesting game. That's Division One, and of course, Valencia, you mentioned, undefeated. They got seeded 5th, I believe, in Division One. I don't think they'll have a problem with Lucerna. Division Two is where we'll find the Daily News' top-ranked team in Westlake. They're seeded 3 in Division Two. It's just a brutal division, isn't it? With Camarillo 1 and Villa, the 2nd seed. But Westlake is taking on Buena Park. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's a very tough division. I was agreeing with you. It's similar to D1. You're not going to have any easy matchups, and yeah, but Westlake, man, they're built for the playoffs. Like, can't wait to see what that team does.
Kylie Chung, no hitter last week against Oaks Christian. The interesting part of this is that when they make it to the next round, they're probably going to get South Hills, and there's no harder team, offensive team right now in our area other than La Mirada than South Hills. They've been just killing the ball lately.
Yeah, I'm. The thing about Kylie Chung, you mentioned the no-hitter. The no-hitter was against Oaks Christian. That's a perennial power. That's a team that has a really good offense as well. And the Marmani League title was on the line, and she goes out, throws a no-hitter, and they win 10-0 over their rival. That's crazy. Like, who does that? Like, Kylie Chung's just built differently. Like, that told me all I needed to know about Westlake going in the playoffs. And they're not going to be. South Hills may have some big bats, some massive hitters, but Westlake's not going to be intimidated. And so that's going to be a great matchup if that materializes.
Talk to me about Simi Valley here. You've got them ranked tied for 10th with Newberry Park. They're going to play Diamond Ranch, who's got one of the top pitchers in our area, and Emily McCloskey. Talk to me about Simi Valley here a little bit.
They beat Camarillo. No one beat Camarillo this year. Not even West. I don't think Westlake did either. But they beat Camarillo, and that was kind of an eye opener for me. I think Simi Valley's pitcher Desiree Smith. I hope I'm not butchering that, but
nope.
She threw a great game against Camarillo. I think that's. They're obviously quite capable, and we'll see what happens. Going against a good pitcher, I don't know how much offense they can generate, but that'll be a good matchup. But if you sleep on Simi, they're gonna get you. They've proven that over the years.
Division 3 has Whittier Christian as the top seed, but again, this is a division that's loaded with pitchers. You have Louisville, who is the 4 seed with they've got a great pitcher of their own in Grace Luter. You've got Sierra Canyon. They're 15-1 on the year. They're the number 2 seed. Throw in Ramona. When I talked to Eric Paul Johnson last week, he basically told me Ramona is the real deal. This is just another loaded division, Tony.
That's such a loaded division. It's not quite the same caliber as D1, D2, but for it's like that next. It's like the mid-major level, right? And like,
right,
these are really good teams. Like I can speak to Sierra Canyon. Like, their pitcher transferred from San Fernando a couple years ago. She's good. They have this girl who transferred from Chatsworth a couple years ago, Amber Toven. She's been legit in everything they could have envisioned with her. That's going to be good. Louisville has really proven themselves, kind of like Westlake. They went in their regular season finale needing a win to win the league title, and they won 11-1 over Notre Dame, who's the number 1 seed in Division 4. So, Grace Luter, she's going to Seattle University. Her grandfather's Vince Scully. Dave Roberts' niece is on Notre Dame. There's a whole bunch of Dodger connections, so I know you'll appreciate that, James. So
absolutely, who doesn't? Hey, talk to me about North Torrance. They're hosting Irvine.
North Torrance is an interesting little team. They have a good little pitcher in Ashley Sawa. Hopefully, I'm not butchering that pronunciation. I never have to pronounce these names, but they were second in the Pioneer League, and that league was like a demolition derby. Like, whoever left came out standing means they're a pretty good team, and I think they're positioned very well to make a run. They have great postseason experience in the past and good track record, and they're kind of flying under the radar right now. So
the one game I'm going to let everybody know I'm going to be at on Thursday is Arcadia at Bishop Amonte. Bishop Amonte, champions of the Del Rey League. Arcadia, the second place team from the Pacific League, with two titanic battles against Chrysanthe Valley. I mean, it's going to be I'm just telling you, Tony, it's going to be a blood war. I mean, this game could go 15 innings on Thursday. I wouldn't be surprised.
Chrysanthe Valley had such great things to say about Arcadia that they just talked them up, like that they're just a good team. Chrysanthe Valley doesn't normally come out with that kind of praise unless it's like Los Alamitos or Huntington Beach, like or Mater Dei. But to say that about a league opponent, it means Arcadia impressed them. And that's a killer matchup. That's a first rounder. Jeez,
that's the first. Isn't that? It's just when the pairings came out Saturday, I was at swimming. I was standing next to a coach, and when the pairings came out, I was just flipping. I go, and my eyes were like, well, what did you see here? I said, I just saw my area game of the year here. It just doesn't happen too much.
This game of the year material, and it's in the first round. That's crazy. So
hey, Tony, you don't even have Redondo Union in your top 10 yet, and yet they're a first place team from the Bay League.
I do have them in the top 10. They're like number 6 or 7.
Okay, you have my 5. I'm sorry.
Oh,
you got them at 5. They're playing Tesoro in the first round. That's my fault. I'm looking at the wrong sheet here.
I shot them very high.
Talk to me about them.
They're interesting. They took their lumps in the preseason, lost to a lot of the Pioneer League teams like the South Torrances, the North Torrances that we talked about in Torrance High, but they went through the Bay League and just rolled, like unbeaten in the Bay League. They handled most of their games fairly lopsidedly, and their coach Jennifer Desert's tremendous. She's one of the deans of the South Bay. She's like the second longest tenured there, and it makes me feel old because I saw her when she came in.
Oh, come on now. Stop it. Stop it. Tony never gets old, okay? Come on.
They have Carly Coco, the pitcher. She's just been on fire. And then they had I saw this girl, Alexandra Hamilton, hit 2 home runs this past week. First time I'm seeing that name, and I was intrigued. All the Lin-Manuel Miranda references just started coming out. So I have fun with that. Hopefully they didn't edit that, but
it's all good. How epic is that game going to be against Quartz Hill in the next round if Quartz Hill beats Dos Pueblos?
Redondo has to get by Tesoro, but I mean, nothing's a given in the playoffs, but that'd be a great matchup. Quartz Hill usually is pretty strong coming out of the
Golden League.
The Golden League and Antelope Valley, and Redondo challenges itself. They play a good schedule, and they're usually pretty fundamentally sound under Coach Desert, and they have a good pitcher and enough good hitters. Like, it's interesting. I'm like, they did so poorly outside of league, but then they did so well in league. How's that translate to playoffs? We don't know.
Well, all I can tell you is that I sent a quarterfinal between Whittier Christian and Brooklyn Carrion, who we've nicknamed the Brooklynator out here, against possibly, I mean, it would be a semifinal, maybe against either North Torrance or Louisville would be epic.
I mean, I think we're going to get good matchups in that in Division III. Either, no matter who it ends up being, it's going to be a good matchup. And yeah, you might have like a North Torrance sneaking in there. You might have someone from your area sneaking in there too. But
so in Division IV, Tony, quickly, Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame, are they the heavy favorites?
They appear to be. They had a great regular season. They kind of tapered off a little bit at the end. They lost two Mission League games, and they were so they went from first place to comfortably to squeaking in the playoffs. Not squeaking in, but it wasn't the finish that they were anticipating. But that's another good coach, Dana Vasquez. Her teams compete hard, and Dave Roberts' niece is the pitcher. She's looked very good against other Daily News teams this year. So Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do. They've they've had a good history. Then they were slightly down, and now they're kind of back. So.
Tony, give me an upset. Give me an upset team to follow here from each of your two zones that you do.
Torrance High and South Bay. They're Pioneer League's third place team, but they're good. They have a good pitcher. They have good hitting. I'm not sure what happened in the Pioneer League. I think they were a win away from winning it, but then they dropped to third. So they're dangerous. They're in Division II, though. This is a little bit of a challenge, but maybe they get that first round win and then they get on a roll. Daily News, like first round. Let's see. I'd say El Camino Real, but they're kind of the favorites in the LA City section.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good question, because a lot of our teams are so highly ranked there. I don't know. Maybe I'll say Heritage Christian. I think they were second or third in their league. They have some good players, and they can pull off the first round upset. Can they sustain it? I don't know, but they could get a win or two.
That's what we're looking for. We need long shots here. We don't need favorites. We need out of the box teams that no one has heard about or anything. That's what we're looking for here, Tony. I know you're busy, and you've got a day job, that's probably that gets you going from 9 to 5. And I could not be more appreciative of your time. I have, thanks to you, thanks to EPJ and Dan Albano, I have grown to really enjoy softball because, first off, the girls really compete hard. They're just at a different level in my mind when it comes to competing, and it's just fun going to a high level softball game, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, I like the pitcher stools because that's the highest level for me. You just see them making plays behind the pitchers. Like, you need a clutch hit to win it. Like, it usually comes together. Those are fine. You usually see them in the playoffs, and those long extra inning games and the walk-offs. It's fun. I love that weekend in Irvine. I love the city section. I don't know where they're going to play their championship, but yeah, a couple good teams there. Like, that's obviously not a San Gabriel Valley area, but
Go ahead.
It's great. Love softball.
Yeah, you've got El Camino ranked 4th in the Daily News poll. You've got Carson ranked 3rd in the Daily News poll, or the Daily Breeze poll. The Daily Breeze poll.
Yeah, San Pedro ranked 3rd, I think. They beat Carson and jumped them.
Oh boy, okay. So that would see that. See that? That's nothing. You learn something new every day here, so to speak. By the way, who wins the College World Series this year for softball?
I gotta go UCLA. Maya Brady.
How can you not?
Oaks Christian. Tom Brady.
Maya Brady. How can you not pick him? And I'm an SC guy, and I got to pick. I'm going with UCLA in softball, But I mean, that's just different. But it's a fun time of year. Tony, my friend, I could not be appreciative of your time, sir. And you've got my cell number. If you ever need anything, give me a call. But I really appreciate you taking time. There's a lot of fans who are big softball fans that they don't know what happens, with all these different time zones and everything. You fill out a lot of the old blanks, so to speak, and I really appreciate your time.
Well, pleasure, James. Always great talking with you and catching up with you. And yeah, enjoy some softball and all the other many sports that you're covering.
You sure you don't want to cover golf next week? We can get you going golf.
I would. Get me off my day job. My boss is over. Give me a golf cart.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, James. Have a good one.